Hey guys, we Kool-Aid here. I'll do a video for you. Hey, before we get into the heart of this video here, I'm going to talk about yesterday's video just for a second. The comment section. If you guys go back and you look at that video, the comments have been disabled on that video, and the reason why is because there was so much vulgarity being used. I just don't. I won't allow that. You know, a little bit is fine. Using the S word or the A word, whatever you want to say. You know, something like that. Something that really isn't disgusting, if you want to go that way with it. But when people start dropping the F-bomb, and even further than that, I've seen some comments that were even worse than that. Flat out just disgusting, some stuff, okay? And it was subscribers fighting with each other, okay? And I don't want that to happen. So, you know, and that's why I don't allow vulgarity in my comment section. Now, you can come on there and you can attack me all you want. Okay, you can go back and look at my comment sections in previous videos. All the attacks, all the comments that were made to me, about me, are still there. I don't delete those. They're there. I think everybody should be able to voice their opinion, but when you start using vulgarity, it's no longer an opinion. It's a forced mindset. Whether you want to think of it in that way or not, that's essentially what it is. You've blocked it all off and you started using nasty words and stuff, and it just doesn't do anybody any good. So, you know, that's why the comments were disabled. You know, I don't allow attacks on each other or other creators, and that was all going on. So I just, it was too much for me to have to sift through. That's why the whole comment section got disabled. So, we're going to move on from that, okay? And I'm sure we'll talk about that whole situation anyway at a further date, you know, as soon as things get, you know, down the road here a little bit. But anyway, Space Weather Prediction Center. Okay, that's what I got you over here, space weather, right? There's been some decent stuff. I don't want to call it decent. There's been some active stuff going on. Okay, you see that. You see that. I always do this in my model update at the end of my videos. That's the solar wind speed, and that's the geomagnetic storm level. Obviously, nothing's really too funky right now, right? But we do have some stuff going on that I want to talk about, okay? This is the KP level, which is the level of geomagnetic activity, okay? Basically, it's the storm level for space weather, okay? Here on Earth, the KP index, it's like a severe thunderstorm warning level, and it gets raised like a tornado warning. You know, things progressively go up as stuff gets worse or more active. Now you can see how we were, if you go back and look at a few days before this, we were kind of tacking out on ones all the time. It was just kind of flatlined for a few, and that came after weeks of being kind of active. Now we're starting to spike back up, and you know, with us being starting this solar minimum at the very beginning stages of it. You know, you would think that the trend would be going the other direction, downwards. And I'm going to show you some things here that the sun itself is actually a little bit more active than what it was a few months back. And, you know, I'm not going to say that that's way out of the ordinary or rare to happen during a solar minimum. We have to keep in mind that this is just the beginning stages of it. So it's not a big, huge deal, but the sun is showing some activity. Okay, and I'll show you what I mean here in a minute. But we'll go down here. We're going to take a look at this. Okay, this is the ACE graph that I use a lot. You guys, I show this all the time. If you guys just want to go fast forward to the end of the video here, guys, the last, I don't know, 10 minutes or so is a model update with some music and stuff on it. If you just want a model update, you know, you can do that. But I do want to explain some stuff right here. Okay, there's some stuff here that I'm seeing it's kind of strange. Now, I told you guys about the phi angle, right? It's basically, at a basic level, it's just the angle of the connection between, the magnetic connection between us and the sun. Interplanetary magnetic field lines is what that stands for, okay? That's what we're talking about here when we're talking about the phi angle. We're talking about the angle of that. You know, and it's backwards when you're looking at this. So when this phi angle goes down, it's an increase in activity is what I'm trying to say. And if it goes up on this chart, it's actually down. But when you start seeing this thing hopping up and down, okay, sometimes the polarities change, okay, from positive to negative, okay, and it'll flip just like a pole flip, but this is not nowhere near like that, but that you can kind of understand that way. Now, when this thing starts getting all jacked up, we start seeing stuff that it's a sometimes like earthquakes and stuff. When this thing does its thing, like it flips or we have a jump one way or the other, it sometimes we have like an immediate earthquake. You can go back and look at that. It does affect it, and again, it's not the only factor in earthquakes. Okay, there's so many factors that are involved with that, and I'm not, that into that part of it yet. I'm trying to educate myself a little bit more by talking to others and researching it out. That's why I don't really go into specifics with earthquakes, because I'm not confident enough about it. But I do know that this is one of the components that we look at when we're talking about an increase in activity, or we should be looking for an increase in activity. Okay. Now you see this all jumping around, and I call it popcorn. You guys know I call it popcorn because these are data points. Each one of those little dots are data points. So when you see that looking like popcorn, you know that it's jumping around some. Now, if you go over here to the other side of the graph, it's a very good example how that's not popcorn. All right, that triangle found a spot for a minute, and it stayed right there. Okay, it didn't move. That angle never changed for hours. Okay, each one of these little hash marks right here, I think it's a 2-hour interval. Let's go down here at the bottom and look. Yeah, it's a 2-hour interval. So if you look here, 16 to 1800 UTC. All right, that's what that means. Now, if you up here where that happened, where it got, where it went kind of leveled out some, it was between about 2100 all the way to 0200 in the morning UTC. Okay, so that's what I'm trying to say here. When I talk about popcorn, but when we see all this stuff, we can go back and look at some of the earthquake data and other things that are going on, and I guarantee you that something was probably going on during all that. I know we had a decent sized earthquake today. And I think it was Albania. I'll show you guys some graphs here in a little while on that. But wanted to bring you guys that to your attention too, and also this you'll see this every day on this graph. You see that blanked out spot on all of them. What that means is basically the satellite got into a position where it was not able to collect data, and that happens every time in its orbit. All right, it happens. I'm not sure exactly if it's exactly 24-hour intervals, but about once a day you'll see that on this graph. Okay, and again, this is a historic graph. Okay, it takes us right here at the present time, and it tells us what happened for the previous 24 hours. Okay, it's unlike this one. This is the Enlil model. Okay, right now it takes you to here, right? Well, what is today? Today's actually it's about the 22nd UTC time. So we're kind of like right here. All right, and it shows us 2 days what happened in the past. Then it tries to forecast what's going to happen in the next 5 days. All right, so when we're looking at this graph, what we want to look at is the Earth. That's what's really most important to us. The red line stereo A and the blue line stereo B. Okay, for those that don't know, stereo A is the one that we still have access to. Stereo B we do not. There's a whole big story around that. But what I do want to point out, and this was interesting to me because we see this quite often, okay? And what I mean is, do you see this uptick in stereo A, and at the same time stereo B kind of started going up some too, and then they both start going down a little bit. It's like they're almost kind of halfway mimicking each other. Well, the reason is, and this is what I think the reason is, this is just my opinion. If you go over here and you look, okay, I'm going to use this graph as a backdrop here. This is Earth. Okay, stereo A is over here. Stereo B is over here. These two satellites are essentially straight across from each other looking at the sun. They're not exactly straight across from each other. They're actually kind of Well, they're a little bit closer to Earth, both of them, than what they are to perfectly centered up as far as a straight line right through the equator of the sun. Okay? But they're really close to being straight across from each other with the sun right in the middle. Okay? So, what I think happens when we see those both react at the same time, when we have like discharges from the sun, almost every time when we have a CME or a flare or what have you, typically it's a CME when you see this, but you'll see a CME like pop off this direction towards stereo B. Very shortly thereafter, or if not at the same time, it's like they have like an exhaust effect going out the other way. And this one that comes out the other way isn't typically as strong. Now, I'm not sure if that's actually, if there's some science behind that. I bet there probably is. I just don't know what it is. Now, again, this is something I just observed. And it happens a lot, if not every time. So you'll see a CME bust off the sun, and then you'll see a little bit come out the backside too, or the opposite of where the CME was. You can almost draw a straight line. So, I think that's what's happening over here on this graph. Okay, so something probably shot off towards stereo A's direction. Not really shot off. There's probably a coronal hole caused that to go up there. But typically, whatever's happening on one side, a weaker thing is going on the other. Now, when we have CMEs, that's what I'm talking about. Now, coronal holes, it isn't necessarily the same thing. Okay, coronal holes just open up. There's really no explosion there. That's just particles getting flung out. Okay, so when we do see CMEs, we can look to the back side, and we do see these both of these things are reacting kind of similar, and that might be what's going on here. There may have been some sort of reaction or some sort of discharge from the sun, and I think that sometimes that's what happens there. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention. Now, I'm going to run this graph because I've seen something that I want to show you guys. Oops. Okay, now, I guess I should have had that booted up. I'm sorry, guys. It shouldn't take but a second here. But what we're going to look at, guys, is that we did have I'm not sure if they're going to call it a CME or not, but we did have some sort of energy discharge. And if you look right there, you see that? See it moving towards us? Now here at the end of it, you're going to see how that crosses Earth's path. See that, how it grazes us right there? Okay, that was probably a filament release, which would basically be like a small CME, I would think, is what they would call that. And I'm going to show you some stuff here in a minute and explain a little further there. Okay, but you can go look at these graphs too. They're all doing the same thing. Okay, you're seeing it right there. So a denser material popped off right here. That's what this upper graph is. This is density. The lower graph is wind speed. And just like I've always said, the denser it is, the slower that it moves. Okay, typically. That's pretty much what happens. If the density goes up, the speed goes down. If the speed goes up, the density typically is going down at the same time. Okay, so they're saying about, let's see here, when's that get here? It's going to be close to like the 25th or the 26th. Okay, about the 25th is when they're saying that's going to arrive. Now, okay, and today is, like I just said, 22nd. So we're like 3 days from now. So, what happened? What caused that? Well, let's go look. I'm going to pause for a second. Okay, guys, got you back here. This is SDO. Okay, this is the 304 angstrom. This is the one we look at when we're trying to look at like filaments, which is what's dancing around the sides of the sun here. Okay, when you see these little things dancing around here, those are called filaments. It's energy that's just, it's magnetic energy going back and forth between the negative and the positive, and they kind of travel on those lines on the sun. Now, when those filaments get broke and release on out, and they're able to escape the gravity of the sun, that's basically what we call a CME. Okay, it's that basic term. That's pretty much what a CME is. Okay, so what's happened here? And I'm going to zoom in a little bit, and we're going to play this, and I'm going to show you here, but I'm going to explain to you first. You're going to see like a shadow, like a darker area, like kind of in here, and it's going to look like a little wave-looking thing, like a little whip. Okay, what that is? Okay, it's essentially these filaments that are dancing around the sun. They're over here on the surface that we're looking at directly on. That's why we don't get this point of view. So when we see them here they're hard to spot for just the normal person that gets on here and looks. Now, you know, I've been looking at these a lot, so I do catch these a lot more than what I used to that are on the surface here of the sun. But, you know, as you guys look at this more and more, you'll get that way too. But, like I said, you'll see a little shadow area and it'll dance around here. I just want to explain that to you. And what that is that's a filament getting ready to pop. And it does. So, we're going to play it. Okay. Might have passed it. I bet I did. Yeah, I think I went too far there. Sorry about that, guys. We'll just let it play through. You'll see it. Right about there. Did you see that? Just pause it. Okay. Now you're going to see. I'm going to play this again. I'm going to back it up here. We'll just back. Oops. You're going to see like a reaction here off to the side too. It's that same filament though. All right. You'll see it about that area right there. So let's back that up. Okay, I'm gonna slow it down some so maybe you guys can see it better. And I'll tell you when it starts. Okay, right there. You see that? See how that moved like that? Okay, I'll back it up some more. Do it again. Right in there. Watch. Okay, it's getting ready to happen. It's starting to happen right there. See that? Wham. Okay, it looks like a little whip flicking around. That's that filament it released. Okay, because we had a small CME right there. That, see the date here? That's the 20th. So, basically, that's what that graph is telling us. That's what happened to cause that prediction on that graph. It's seen this, and then when they updated the graph, the predictive part of it, the forecasting, that's what it forecasted off of pretty much. And that's what we're seeing. Okay, they added that into the model, and that's why they changed their model there for a minute. Now I'm going to pause for a second. Okay, I got you over here at seeds. Now, I just showed you that filament that came off the bottom side of the sun, right? Facing us, Earth facing, okay? We could see it from our view. And that's the exact view we're looking at here. Now, you're not seeing nothing, are you? Well, the reason why you are actually seeing it. Okay, and I'm going to zoom in here just a little bit. Now, do you see a little bit of increase, over here in this area, right? You can actually see it coming out that way too a little bit. See that? That was a flash, okay? So what that was is that it picked it up. Why can't we see it? Well, the reason why is this occulter. So, how do we know what's going on? What direction is it going? Well, the next thing that we do is we go to stereo A because it's the side view of the sun. It's looking from the side. And what do we see? Okay, right there. There it is. Okay, it's coming right at us. We're going to catch some of that. Okay, because the Earth is basically right here. Well, it's actually probably down here, I would say. We're a little bit south of the equator of the sun. So if you guys just want to know that part, that's a little bit of tidbit of information there. But yeah, you see that, right? Well, then you go to the next day, and there was another small one, same position. Okay, same area the sun's reacting right now. It's very active right there. And I showed you guys that little the dancing around on those filaments. That's what I mean by how the sun's actually a little bit more active right now. We're seeing, and I'm going to pause again, and I'm going to show you guys some. Okay, guys, I got you back over here, SDO again. Okay, now what we're going to look at is this coronal hole. You see this coronal hole right here? All right, you're seeing it rotate through, but look back here. We got another one coming. Okay, plus, like I said, we got filaments out here dancing around. We got a big coronal prominence, and I think Scott just posted a video over on Subscribestar, his private network. I'm not sure if he put it on his website or anything, but they're watching this big area of activity. Okay, it's called a coronal prominence, and sometimes it can eject out of those things. You can kind of see it even on this one. You'll see the bright region kind of pop out here. Okay, The sun itself is pretty active right there, and it's showing itself by letting these filaments release some. Okay, that activity is getting, pretty active. That's, I would say that right in there, what we're seeing there, it's not yet, I don't think, but it very well could turn into a sunspot. If that does completely go ahead and turn into a sunspot, it would be one of the very few that we've had here as of late. Months, really. I mean, we've had only just very few, and that's a result of the solar minimum. Okay, and something else I'm going to say that I say this quite a bit too. You're going to hear it referred to as a blank disk a lot. Okay, they're not saying that the sun's a disk. Okay, if you look at this right here, it looks like a disk, right? Because of our view. All right, so when they say it's a blank disk, they're saying that the surface of the sun that's Earth facing doesn't have any sunspots. That's what a blank disk means. Okay, that's all that means. So, and I do find it interesting that a lot of times when we see these coronal holes and something else, we'll see these, because that right there almost turned into a sunspot also. Okay, if you watch it, see how it's starting to grow, and you can see the magnetism kind of doing its thing, right? You always got to have a positive and a negative, right? And they kind of arch between each other, and that's where that energy flows back and forth. You'll see that right there, kind of like this. See that? All right, now it looks like that one was probably going to die out and didn't really turn into a full-blown sunspot, just an active region on the sun. But something else I'm going to talk about here real quick. We've been talking about this for, I don't know, a month or so, about how it seems as though when areas of the sun start coming into Earth facing, like where we connect to the sun, our interplanetary magnetic field lines, our connection to the sun, I'll just put that word out there. It seems as though when these areas of the sun come that direction, these coronal holes open up right where we're at. Okay? You'll see, and it happens a lot, you'll see this sunspot right here start developing back here. See how small it was? And then as it got closer and closer to Earth facing, it got bigger and bigger and bigger. Does that have something to do with our magnetic connection to the Earth, to the sun? The Earth-Sun connection there? It could be. And as you can tell, as it rotated past, it almost looks like it's starting to shrink again. It may never go all the way away. We've had sunspots circle the sun like twice. Okay, that's why we watch. Now, we got this other one up here. Okay, that is higher to the north. Okay, so we got the equator of the sun, kind of like right there. All right, well, it's actually kind of low. Let's go up here with it. Okay. And the Earth kind of sits right here, right below the equator. Well, it's probably, I think it's more like this. All right, it's not right exactly on the equator of the sun. So anything just south of the sun's equator rotates right through the Earth. You see that coronal hole right there? And that's what we mean by Earth facing. When that happens, that means we're going to get some sort of activity off of that. Now, if there was a sunspot there, obviously we'd be getting energy from that. Coronal prominences, same thing. And obviously if a CME blows off right there in that direction, you got to pay attention to that. So, but what I want to say is this coronal hole up here. Now, it's going to be a little bit higher to the north, but that does not mean that we can't catch a solar wind stream from that. We probably will. It may not be as strong or as direct, but we probably will. And all the graphs and stuff are showing this. Okay, so this coronal hole right here in the middle we're probably going to start seeing effects from it. Actually, it's already rotated past where the Earth is, so here in about 2 days, I would say, depending on the exact speed of that wind. All right, and I've showed you guys in the past how to go do that. All you got to do is convert kilometers per second, all right, to miles per hour. And once you get that number, you divide that into 93 because the sun's 93 million miles away. And that'll give you a time frame of when that solar wind will arrive. Okay, and I've walked through that on some videos and showed you guys how to do that before. I'm not going to do it here today on this video because this one's already, 24 minutes long. So, I am probably going to go ahead and end the video here, but I wanted to show you guys that part of it. Now, okay, hold on a minute. I'm gonna pause for a second. Okay, guys, I just wanted to show you guys this real quick. This is USGS. All right, this is our earthquake data. All right, you guys. There's European agencies also. There's multiple agencies across the globe that track earthquakes. You know, are they trustworthy? You know, that's a whole nother conversation. I'm not gonna go into that. But again, I will say this, you know, if people want to really know what's going on with the earthquakes, go check out Dutch Sense. He does some really good work. Okay, I've said that before. Scott does really good work there too. But yeah, so we're going to go on with that. Anyway, you got this right here. It's just happened. All right, this 4.9, that's in Mexico. Let's see here, 91 kilometers deep. So that wasn't extremely shallow, but that is kind of in the middle. What we consider shallow would be around 10 kilometers or shorter, probably. I don't know the exact there, but as you can see, guys, look at all these that are happening right now. Okay, these are 4s. There's nothing lower than a 4 here. You know, until you get down here a few hours back, there's going to be some. Now, I do want to show you because you always look at them in crazy locations, right, where they're typically not. And here's Albania, 4.8. 5.9, Indonesia. Okay, if we go down here some more, 5.6, Albania. Albania, 5.1. Those are all probably related, I'm assuming. So, yeah, when we start seeing stuff like that, okay, those are decent-sized quakes in places that don't typically, you know, see them that often. You know, we could go look at a map on that. I'm not going to. But that was 10 kilometers deep also, which is very shallow. So they probably felt some pretty good shaking from this. I mean, it looks like if another 5, like I said, another 5.1. It stayed in the 5s right there. Now, I'm not sure what they would consider aftershock or anything like that. But look at this one. Here's a 5.9 in Indonesia. Okay, that's not so out of the ordinary for Indonesia. They do get quite a bit over there. But, you know, depending on the location and strength, just depends on what's going on, right? There's a whole lot of things that go into trying to see what is really bad and what's not. So, but yeah, I mean, you can see this is just all 4s basically and above. There's some little bit, you know, closer to 3s, a little bit below that if you want to go into looking at some of that. And they're there too. I think I got my settings to not show anything below a 2.5 or something like that. But sometimes we'll see little small earthquake swarms in certain areas and they'll point to bigger ones coming. Now, does that have anything to do with what we're talking about with the sun and all that? It most certainly does. That's one of the factors. And there's a lot of agencies, including this one we're looking at right here, that will not tell you that that's actually a factor. But it is. Okay? It's been proven time and time again. I mean, it is one of the factors in why we have earthquakes. And then we start talking about, that's why we talk about the phi angle, because it's the angle, and that matters. When we start getting hit with lots of particles from solar wind streams, we'll start issuing, like earthquake watches, which is basically what's going on here. We're starting to get some solar wind streams, right? I'm going to pause again. Okay, guys, I'm going to show you the magnetosphere here. Solar wind speed, density, and pressure. Okay, you guys know I always show you the ISWA model. The other model that I use a lot, and I'll show it to you here in a minute. But it's been down. Okay, it went down on the 13th. It came back up for a very short time, but only on ISWA, and then it went back down on the 18th, and it's been down ever since. So when that happens, you always got to kind of question what's going on. But is there something crazy going on or whatever? I'm not so sure, because these other models are still operating. So, if all the models went down, I could see maybe, or if if two of them went down, then yeah, obviously there's probably something connected there. They probably shut it off for whatever reason. But anyway, this is the velocity. Okay, I'm seeing some kind of weird stuff happen. Typically, because the sun's over here, right? And it's the solar wind stream is this direction. It's going to be blowing this way, right? So this is our. Well, let's just do this. This is our shield out here. Okay, that's basically the first point of contact. Our protection from all that. The Earth generates that, which actually the sun helps keep strong. Believe it or not, I've always said the sun helps us protect us from the sun. Okay, and I've explained that before. Also, I'm not going to go into that today, but you're going to see, like, when we get those solar wind streams, typically when you see something happening on this side of it, it happens on this side too. All right. And you're going to see stuff happen on this when I start running this graph, that you're going to see stuff change colors down here, but not up here, and then vice versa. So what that's telling me is that we're not getting it. It's coming from a different direction. It's not directly coming at us. It's coming at an angle of some sort. Okay, and you'll see what I mean here in just a second. Let's go ahead and play it, and I'll show you what I mean. Okay, now you see down there on the bottom right there, you see that? And then, see that? See how it was on the bottom? And then it went on out. Now let's see what happens here. Okay, see the top? Now why all of a sudden the top? What's going on with that? That's what I want to know. Okay, we get a reaction here on the bottom at first, and then a few hours later, the same thing happens at the top, but they're not both reacting at the same time. That's strange. That does not happen very often. I don't know that I've seen stuff happen just on one side, but not happen on the bottom, and then a few hours later happen on the top the same way. So I don't know what's going on there. If anybody has any clue what that is, please let me know. But I don't know what that is. And the density kind of is doing the same thing. Okay? You'll see it. And keep in mind on this model, the white means low density. Not dense material hardly at all. The darker colors is where it's dense. And low density can be just as bad as high density. Just letting you guys know that. Because the lower the density, you can catch stronger wind speeds that way. So, and the higher the density, the lower the wind speed, but the heavier it is, and it can affect us in a bunch of different ways that I've explained a lot of times here on my channel. But you'll see, you can kind of see a little lump go there, and then it stops and kind of levels out, and then you see a lump up here. So why are we getting energy this way, and then it stops and levels back out, and then we get the same thing going on the top? What's causing that to happen? I don't know. This pressure is all actually doing the same thing. Okay, see how we got a lot of that, what looks to be what most people call backside pressure, which would be the dark side, not facing the sun. What causes all that? I don't know. Now, what I did notice here on this particular, this time on this graph, is that that pressure slowly fills in and becomes pretty even around the whole Earth. You see that? See how strong it was on that backside? Now, when we're getting that backside, what looks to be backside pressure, the sun's over here, remember that. What happens, guys, a lot of times is you'll see this wind speed come here, and it actually does one of those. Okay, so we don't necessarily have to have something behind us causing that pressure. That's not what's going on. Okay, these graphs were not designed to monitor behind us. They're catching stuff out in front of us, and that's their main purpose. So they have a hard time visualizing here on these models what is actually happening on the back, especially the further out. Now this close, you could probably say, yeah, that's probably some pressure there. But you start getting way out here, you have to start questioning how accurate that is. Okay? So, but I just wanted to bring that to you too. I'm going to pause again. Okay, guys. This is the Shuman resonance. For those of you guys that don't know what that is, that's the frequency that Earth puts off. It's supposed to be at 7.83. Okay? See the 4 and the 8? No, those are done in hertz. Just so you guys know, if you guys want to get into the technical end of it. But about right here is about normal. Okay, so when we see this, that's not normal. Okay, that means the frequency went all jacked up and very intense. Not only did the hertz go up, but it was a very intense frequency. So, what happens when we see this stuff? Why do we even look at this? Okay, now when we look at this thing, if everything was normal, all this area should not even be there, really. Okay, you see this darker green part that kind of seems to go through the whole graph? That's the normal line. Okay, so when we see, so when we see these white areas spiking all the way up, and this graph here only shows the 40 hertz. There's other graphs out there that show it up higher. You can see exactly how high it gets. But this one here, for what we're doing, this is what I'm going to use. But this stuff has been directly related to health issues, especially mental health issues. Okay, you can go back and you can look that crime rate goes up, mental sickness as far as suicides and people getting admitted to the into the mental health facilities. All those go up when this thing is getting all jacked up. All right, that speaks volumes to me. Okay, no pun intended. Okay, and I've talked about Dr. Reif in the past also. He was the one that did the machine that was supposed to be able to use frequency, which is what this is, to cure illnesses such as cancer. You guys can research his name online if you want. It's Dr. Reif, R-I-F-E is his name. They actually sell his machines, and there's actually a field of medicine now being developed. I think they call it electromagnetic medicine or something like that. I don't exactly know what the name of that field of the new medical field, but they're having facilities now that are using this technology, and it's helping a lot of people. Okay, so to give you a little backstory, back I think he was in the 30s, maybe 1930s, maybe 40s. He developed this machine, and it was a Southern California University did a study with his machine, with him involved, obviously, and I think he did 16 patients, I believe, is what it was back then. He was able to cure 14 of the patients 100%. Okay, and I'm not saying people should go out and, that's all you need to look at is that or anything like that. You need to do what's good for you, okay? I will say that straight up. Don't just, go to the doctor. Let the doctor and you guys decide all that if somebody's sick. What I'm saying is I'm just trying to show you how frequency can affect our health. But those 14 people were cured, and then he brought the 2 people that weren't back. He adjusted the frequency and cured those people too. It's like a 100% cure rate with those 16 people. Now, how they, what the standards were back then, I don't know. Obviously, but some people, they buy these machines. You can actually buy one for yourself. They're like $3,000. Now, is it a scam? I don't know. But what I'm trying to tell you here is that frequency is a very powerful thing. Think about how good music makes you feel. That's frequency. Music can make you feel happy, sad, mad, all kinds of things. Why is that? Well, because frequency affects us as humans. That's why. It's a very, very powerful thing. So I don't want people to take the Shuman resonance when it's off like this. We need to pay attention. We get tinnitus is what people call that. It's the ringing in your ears. If you guys are getting migraines, all that stuff can be put right back to this. If you guys are experiencing those symptoms, just go look this up. Check out the chart for that day and see if this might have something to do with it. Now, obviously, every time you get a headache or something isn't going to be caused by this, okay? But sometimes it can be. This can help you explain sometimes when you really feel bad or anxious or any of that stuff, or even happy, Good frequency is great, okay? So, but, this is the Shuman resonance. I get there by going to Mr. MBB3's page. Actually, this is back out, and I'll show it to you. All right. This is his page. This is his web page. You go down over here, and he's got a Shuman resonance tag. Okay? He's got a lot of cool tags over here. And Dude, you guys need to go check out his latest video anyway. It's awesome. It was a ISS capture by one of his subs. Yeah, I'm not going to say much about it, but go check it out. It was probably one of the best, ISS UFO footage I've ever seen. It was impressive, really was. And he dives deep into it, and he goes into what he was seeing, what the sub was seeing, and he actually did some photo editing and stuff like that to try to draw stuff out to try to eliminate some doubt. The thing was actually reflecting light itself. It actually flattened out and took off. So, reflections don't do that. They stay in the same spot pretty much. So, anyway, go check it out. But yeah, I'm going to pause again. Alright guys, this video is already going pretty long, so I'm just going to go ahead and finish what I need to say here, okay? I'm sorry this one was pretty long. I just haven't really done a video like this for you guys in a while. I really felt I needed to explain to anybody that's new here, to try to help them understand what we're looking at a little bit, plus give you guys a more in-depth look at what we're seeing. But we're looking at here, guys, I started including this in my model update at the end of my videos. This is basically the radiation belts, okay, at different elevations. Okay, you can get there by going to the ISWA site, ISWA, and you go to the magnetosphere tab up here at the top. See that right there? All right, and then you can go to whatever sub tab right here, and it's on 4. And you'll see 50, 100, 4,000, 2,000. Basically, it's at different elevations, okay, as we get further out. Actually, if you go back another page here, it starts at here too. You can go down as close as 10 if you want. But I typically, the one I go to the most, because it shows quite a bit and it's pretty, like, kind of in the middle, is the 50. All right. So this is basically, without going into technical terms here, the radiation that's coming through, right? So what we're going to see here, what I want to draw your attention to, because what I'm going to show you is pretty intense. We don't typically see it get this intense. If you look at this graph down here, that's the chart, right? It says 0.5 to 6.5, which those numbers, I'm not going to go into what those mean either, but look at the colors, okay? It stops at red, right? Obviously, most of the time in our lives, red is the worst when we're talking about gauging whatever graph we're looking at. But what I want you to know here, that the sun's over here, and remember I just got through talking about how we get that little backside rush, is what I'm going to call it. Okay, you're going to see that pretty evident here, and then you're going to see this radiation come in through the back, and it gets sucked right into us, and you'll see. Okay, so I'm going to rotate this through. Obviously, that's not necessarily a big thing what we're seeing right there. That is pretty intense all the way around, I will say that. A lot of times they're bluish colors and greens, not usually the yellows or the reds. There's usually always a little bit of that, but not this amount. Now, see, watch what happens here. I'm going to rotate through here. Did you see that little red peek up in the back there just for a second? See that? Okay. If you guys look really, really deep into that, that's paint. Okay. You can go over here to this graph. That pink is at the very top. I mean, that's as high as it gets. All right. Usually pink. I used to think the pink wasn't even on that, but if you look really close, it is there at the very top. So anyway, it's very intense stuff. That's all I'm trying to say. So we're going to go through here, and then you're going to see things will start reacting. Now you see that little red, you're going to see it kind of spiral in. It does that every time. You can kind of see how it's spiraling counterclockwise always. See that? How it got, whatever energy that was, got sucked right into that belt, and it's there. It's increasing the radiation around us there. Is some of that getting through? I would assume that some of it might be, but not. This thing jumps around a lot when we get hit with the cosmic rays also. And ionized particles from the sun, right? I mean, when we start getting those big high solar wind events, this thing starts getting all crazy too. It's all connected. Right, now look at that. Okay, I find it very interesting. Number one, let's go back here to that one. All right. That was at 8:36 UTC on the 21st. All right, that's a lot of high energy right there. Okay. And you'll see it, like I said, as we go through here. What I find interesting, the very next capture, look. But this is what I want to point out. See the timestamp? 9:44. Let's go back to the previous timestamp. 8:36. That was almost an hour. Okay. This thing gives us a capture, I think, every 4 minutes. Yep. Well, hold on. 8:28 to 8:36. So that would be what? 8 minutes? Yeah. Every 8 minutes, maybe. Okay, let's go forward. Nope, every 4 minutes. Sometimes it skips some. But that was like an hour later. So if you guys see those big jumps, always look at that timestamp. Make sure it didn't miss some time. Okay, because it didn't necessarily change that drastically that fast. Sometimes it does, but this time it did not. Now you're going to see how we're seeing all this come right on in, right? Now, if you go look at the other ones, same thing. But anyway, this is that graph I typically show you guys with the magnetosphere, right? And we're going to look at this a little bit more in depth, okay? Because, again, they shut this thing down on the 18th. All right, for whatever reason, it hasn't given us any updates since then. So when that happens, I always dig into it a little bit to see if I can kind of figure out why. Now, if you look at this, the dotted line is a satellite line. These are the satellites. Okay? Those are what's given this model its information. So the location of those matters. Because if you see a lot of like this energy back here, if this satellites were inside that, most likely nothing would be happening. But if it was very intense and those satellites were in that, sometimes they go into safe mode and sometimes they get knocked down for multiple days. But that isn't always the case. Okay? So, I'm going to rotate this through and we're going to see. We're going to watch this thing. Right? This is some intense stuff. See how we're bouncing back and forth? I've talked about compression and rapid expansion when we get hit with high solar winds. I find it interesting that this area seems to be staying very, very energized. Along with, you see this little, I think it's all connected. Now keep in mind, behind us, it isn't as accurate as right out in front of us. Okay, so I want you guys to keep that in mind also when I'm showing this stuff. But it doesn't just completely destroy everything behind us. It doesn't make it completely all the way invalid is what I'm saying. We still need to look at it because sometimes we see stuff that we need to be paying attention to. Okay, see we got hit with a shot there. Now, remember I said, see that red? Where are the satellites? They're here. Okay, they're right there in that energy. So, so it would make sense. You see how they're rotating through. And we're seeing all that stuff. It seems like it's repeating a pattern here. Now, there's some pretty good intense energy. Now, we come around the front here with those satellites, right? See the satellites are out here? Now, I haven't looked at this yet, but we'll see. See what happens. Okay, now, the time it got sent out right out in front of us. Alright, and then very shortly thereafter, they went down. Now, why? I don't know. I don't really have a good answer. All I'm saying is that this is what was going on right before these things went down. And this was some pretty good activity. Really was. I mean, that's pretty intense stuff. If we looked at the wind speed and stuff on the other models, I would imagine we would see some pretty high ones. But, anyway, guys, I am going to end it there. Hope you guys have a great weekend. I'll try to give you another video earlier on in the week, maybe later on tomorrow. We'll see. But yeah, God bless. Yeshua saves, and you can drink this Kool-Aid.